Before we get into the video, I quickly want to show you his build. Wraith is very straightforward whenever you're building her. So you can go from left to right in general. Quicksilver Reload goes on her 1, and Surge of Power goes on her 3. And your main power spike is going to be Lucky Shot once you've built everything else. And as you can see, it only costs you 21,750 souls to hit this power spike. You can be a bit flexible with the skill order. The first one that I like to max out is her 3, because you get 20% bullet and Spirit Lifesteal, and you get increased scaling of spirit damage per bullet. And once you pop Surge of Power, the damage looks something like this. And by the way, make sure to join my Discord server for anything Deadlock related, and let's get right into the video. Alright, we're back with another one, and today I'm covering Zergy. He's been on the channel a couple of times, and today I'm covering Wraith, which is a super fun character. She's had a couple of reworks, but she's in a pretty good state, I would say. Looks to me like he's gonna be playing her in a duo lane. And by the way, 88% of you are not subscribed, so make sure to hit that sub button and let's get that 40k. Yeah, he starts the lane out here. He's laning into a Lash and Dynamo. I mean, the only scary things that we need to watch out for here is the Lash Ground Pound, which is on a pretty short cooldown once he puts 1 point into it. I believe it's 9 seconds. And then you also have the Dynamo knockup. But other than that, it's not really a kill lane. I mean, we don't have insane kill pressure early on Wraith without items. And the main way that you're going to be doing damage in lane is by just shooting at your opponents and shooting at minions, building up your card stacks, and then throwing them. I also recommend you to probably mess with the cards in the practice range, or in the sandbox rather, because they can be a bit finicky. They are a little bit weird to throw, but once you mess around with them in the sandbox, you do get the hang of it eventually. You want to try to be hitting your cards, because again, that is the majority of your damage, and they do have pretty big splash, so you can try to aim them at the feet of your opponents. You don't need to directly hit them. Goes for the ammo scavenger there. Gotta get the stacks up, and remember, you do get a lot of spirit from it, and when it's max stacked, you also get a lot of movement speed, so just crazy value early on into the game. We do have a pretty good duo, to be honest. Great Talon is super annoying in lane, as you all know. You probably hate playing against him. He does so much damage with the charged arrows, and the hitbox of them is super big. Another thing I want you to keep in mind is when you build Infuser on Wraith, you can throw your card and then pop the Infuser. So if you feel like you're about to miss, you don't need to pop your Infuser. If you feel like it's about to hit, you pop it and it still does damage. Wraith is pretty good in both a duo and a solo lane. I mean, she doesn't have insane kill pressure in a duo lane, and she can win solo lanes. I mean, she can at least break even or win them. She does have pretty decent damage with her cards early on, and then with a couple of items, like I said before, she does get really strong. And early on, it's all about the cards. You want to get the spirits from the ammo scav, you want to get your Infuser, you want to get your extra charge, and just try to stack up the cards, because that is, again, the majority of your damage early on, and then you just have to shoot as much as possible. Overextends there, gets super punished, and again, it's what I talked about earlier. We are scared of the Dynamo knockup, we are scared of the Lash Ground Pound, and he does... The thing about Lash is that he does a lot of burst damage, right? So once Lash uses all of his abilities, he doesn't really have super much, so you want to try to dodge his cooldowns, and when you know that his whip and his ground pound are on cooldown, that's when you can just go crazy on him. Some of the best advice that I've received whenever I've laned into a Lash solo lane is just look out for the cooldowns, and when it's down, you just go all in on him. You can trade really hard. Your gun damage will be more than him early on, and then your abilities will be doing more damage. This goes for almost every character. I mean, especially on Wraith, if you have your cards stacked up, you see Lash going into the arrow, he's on top of the bridge or something like that, goes for the ground pound, he slams down, and then after that you have a massive window to just trade into him. If you have 2 or 3 cards, you will be winning that trade. Just don't let him get away with the crimes for free, is what I'm trying to say. Don't let him do damage for free without any sort of trading. Same thing for Dynamo there. I mean, if the knockup is on cooldown, then you have a trading window on him. It is a little bit harder in a duo lane. They do have better pressure on the enemy team. We just need to try to break even here and just try to lane as best as we can. Mainly just focusing on the wave and throwing our cards wherever we can. In general, Wraith can be an insane split pusher. She takes objectives insanely fast, especially when you have Quicksilver Reload on your 1 and Surge of Power on your 3. She has so many bullets in her mag, and she can just, yeah, again, take objectives really fast. She also does have her teleport, which allows her to get away if somebody does contest you. And one thing that I would like you guys to do is, if you are split pushing, get creative with the TPs, because I see a lot of Wraith players just TPing out straight. Try to TP up onto high ground. I mean, in this specific case, Lash can just follow you, right? But let's say that we are in this lane here, and let's say that we would be split pushing here. If you're running away, try to TP up there, for example, and just, yeah, get creative, because it is hard for the opponents to follow you up onto high ground. For most of them, it's a struggle, and it's a really easy way for you to get out. Goes for a gank here on pocket, super good timing. Just shoots and drops the cards. Very nice timing, and then we can shove the wave, and then we can probably do some damage to the turret. I'm gonna try to get towers down as fast as possible. Again, on Wraith, you're a really good split pusher. Objective damage is the name of the game, especially on this character. In lower mid elos, even in high elo games, I mean, this is a high one. Zergy will be focusing on objectives and getting that damage up. As you can see, already did half to the tower there. Has his rapid rounds. And look at that burst there. I mean, 2 cards, 3 cards there. That is basically where your damage is coming from. So definitely make sure to stack up your cards. Don't use your cards on minion waves, especially. Yeah, I mean, you can use them if you really need to shove a wave really fast, but in general, just try to save your cards for enemy heroes. It's a common mistake on raids. They tend to just waste their cards. If you see an opponent, just throw it at them, burst them a bit, poke them a bit. That's basically your only trading tool, and then later on in the game, you can pop your 3 and just shoot a lot. But remember to shoot. I mean, you have so many bullets in your mag. It's really hard for you to miss minions. You're not reloading super often on Wraith either, and she's a pretty strong jungler as well, so don't be scared of using your cards on the jungle as well. But as you can see here, Zergy is not really using a lot of his cards. I mean, he threw one on the big one there, but he's not spamming them. He's making sure to have cards up all the time. Going for a lot of barriers. We have combat barrier, we have hollow point ward here, so we're getting quite tanky. Again, like I said at the start of the video, you don't need a lot of money to be strong on Wraith, and in general, you will have a lot of sustain, especially when your 3 is maxed out. Taking whatever farm he can here. We have Talon poking out the Lash, and we can just focus on the last hits here. Goes for the Infuser. A bit late for the Infuser, but I do understand why he went for the other items earlier. And remember that Infuser doesn't give bonus HP now, it gives you Spirit Shield, so it just helps our build so much. So we have Infuser and Hollow Point Ward for the Spirit Shield, and then we have Combat Barrier for the Bullet Shield. So we are quite tanky now. Goes for the pocket, goes for the ult. And don't be scared of using your ultimate ability, to be honest. Wraith's ult is not that good anymore. The best thing about it is that it disarms and silences. So it's mostly used for that. Your opponents can buy Ethereal Shift. A lot of people buy Debuff Remover for it as well. So especially early mid game, just throw out your ult whenever you can. Don't worry about the perfect moment. It's on a pretty short cooldown. As you can see, it's 70 seconds, especially after you put 1 point into it. So it is on a low cooldown, just use it. It's really good at countering Great Talons, Ivies, Vindictas whenever they're in the air, because once it hits, it slams them into the ground. Was quite good against the pocket there too, because again, it silences him, so he couldn't TP away. So much burst from the cards, and now we are starting to get quite strong, and we don't have insane net worth on Wraith right now. We're on 6k, but you see the potential there. Just pops the Infuser, uses the cooldowns, throws the cards, and then yeah, Pocket's just done for. Pocket does take a lot of spirit damage from us though, because he starts with minus spirit resistance off the start of the game, so he does have the disadvantage going into us, but again, yeah, just doing good damage. Might go Enchanter's Barrier here. Actually has a Swift Striker as well for the fire rate there. So it's all about fire rate to build the cards, and then we're just trying to amplify our spirit and bullet damage while building some sustain here and there. But fire rate is gonna be the name of the game. The more we shoot, the more value we get out of this character. And now just going between waves. Remember, waves and objectives are gonna be the priority. We don't necessarily need to force any fights. Also, buffs spawn at 10, 15, 20 minutes, so just try to be there whenever you can. It's kind of hard to be at the 10-minute one sometimes if your lane goes bad, but at least try to make an attempt. There's a lot of value to be had. Looks like he's going to teleport over to the other side. Use these TPs, they open at 8 minutes, and for example, if you're in a solo lane and you're winning, you down your tower around 8 minutes, you teleport to the other solo lane, you join that solo, you duo up, you get that tower, you open up the map a bit more, and again, objective damage and just pushing the game forward is how you're going to be winning your games. And that is definitely what Zergy is going to be looking at right here. Also, if you're interested in the Wraith Christmas skin, I do believe that you need to hit 6 cards in 10 seconds. It is quite easy to do with this build. I mean, you have Quicksilver reload, and we will have a lot of fire rate later on, so it will be quite easy to stack up the cards. It's a really clean Christmas skin, I think. I think it looks pretty good. And there's the burst fire. So now we have an insane amount of fire. I mean, burst fire does so much, especially when you hit an enemy hero, you get 30% fire rate and 2 movement speed. And passively, the item gives you 12% fire rate, 50% longest sliding distance, 20% movement slow resist, bonus HP, and 14% weapon damage. So there's a lot of value to be had from that item, and combine that with Swift Striker and later on Quicksilver reload, we're going to be having so much fire rate, and we'll be building our cards really fast in fights. This build is mainly focused around shooting though. It is a gun build, but remember to just stack up your cards and throw them. It is extra damage. You can just be spamming that one button whenever you're in a fight, but the main thing is, yeah, just tracking well and shooting as much as you can into the enemy team, and then try to be smart about your ultimate abilities. Just try to find a target on the enemy team and try to see who you can isolate. I mean, in this case, I would probably look at either Pocket, Haze, or Dynamo. Dynamo might be a little bit hard because he can translocate and then the ult doesn't connect. Same thing with Pocket, he does have his satchel. But if you do manage to hit it on both of them, then it's really, really good. Otherwise, Haze is pretty much a free target unless she builds Unstoppable. TP's over. The TP sound is quite loud. Maybe Pocket or Paradox heard it. Let's see what happens here. Might be looking to sneak an ult. I mean, if you are trying to ult somebody in a 1v1 situation, like try to sneak up on them like he's doing right here. It's kind of hard for them to react. Pocket satchel's there, so nothing really happens. But you do see the damage there. The burst is crazy. But yeah, definitely sneak up on your opponents. Also, before team fights start, if there's bigger fights to be had, I mean, try to come from the Veil or maybe sit on high ground and then try to find an angle where you can teleport in or jump down on someone with your ultimate ability. There's the Enchanter's Barrier as well. So yeah, we have a lot of shield, we have a lot of fire rate, and we will be stacking up our cards super, super fast. Does have the Quicksilver reload. We put it on the cards. Allows you to reload your entire mag. And as you can see, Wraith has a lot of bullets in her mag. Once you get a couple of items going, you do farm jungle camps very fast on Wraith. With Quicksilver reload, you have 2 full mags. So that's what Zerg is doing here, just getting that gold. Wraith is considered a hyper carry, so you definitely want to try to get as much gold as possible. You don't need to join all fights with your team. Again, just prioritize waves and objectives, and then during your downtime, just go into the jungle. In this case, in Zerg's downtime, he's just protecting some objectives and then getting the wave. Again, we don't need to force anything. We just need to play waves and objectives really well. And then when opponents are around us, we're gonna naturally flow into fights, and then it's up to us to decide if it's worth it or not to take. I mean, we are 2k ahead of the Haze, and we have a lot of network compared to the enemy team. Also, buys fleet footwork there. My favorite item in the game. It just makes it so that you don't lose any movement speed whenever you shoot. It's a passive, so it's active even without you activating the item. And then once you activate fleet footwork, you get more movement speed and more bullets in your mag. Just really nice on Wraith in general. I mean, remember, we get a lot of movement speed from burst fire, and you also get 2 movement speed from surge of power, and we will be putting that on his 3. Playing the high ground here. Again, we don't need to be in the deep of the fight. We can just hover them, build our cards, and just shoot. Just want to be that annoying mosquito that just shoots, and then when the fight is looking like it's won, then you can start getting a little bit closer, and then you can throw your cards. Try to save your TP for whenever you need to escape, so there might have been a good moment, but he just got bursted way too fast. Looks like Dynamo hit a crazy ult. Maybe a Talon Bird coming in. I don't know if he can finish off the Dynamo. Let's see. I don't think so. Actually, he baits out the Translocate for the Dynamo, and we don't hit anything. I think he's either saving for long range or a surge of power. Let's see. I think he's saving for surge of power because he would have bought long range right now. Yeah, long range and sharpshooter are really valuable items. You do so much weapon damage, and I believe it's 15 meters. Yeah, if you're 15 meters away from your opponent, you do a lot of extra weapon damage, and 15 meters is not a lot in this game. It's a really good item on Mirage as well. I really like it on him. And of course, Vindicta builds it as well. I think we're gonna see the surge of power here. There it is. Puts it on the 3. So he does deviate a little bit from his build here, because if you look at Zergi's build, he maxes his ult first, but in this game, he maxed the 3 first. So kind of what I talked about earlier. I do prefer maxing my 3 first because there's just so much value to be had. So definitely be doing that in your games, and then max your ult situationally. It really depends, but go for the 3 max first. Insane value. I mean, just the 20% bullet lifesteal and spirit lifesteal when you pop it is insane. Combine that with our fire rate, we just have so much sustain in fights. Teleports over, and remember to use the TPs. One nice thing about teleporters as well is that you get a bit of movement speed when you come out of them. If there is a fight going on, I mean, you can pop your fleet footwork, and then once you hit an enemy, you get a lot of movement speed from burst fire, and then you can pop surge of power. And there we have the burst. It's also crazy how fast you can chase somebody on Wraith. I mean, with all that movement speed, with fleet footwork, also with your teleport, it's kind of hard for enemies to leave. Also, you have your ultimate ability if you need to catch somebody. And now we're doing quite a bit of damage. Curious if he's gonna be able to get the walker here. I mean, there is 2 people contesting it. It's Dynamo and Haze. We see, like, even at this range, we're doing a lot of damage with our bullets, and we just have so much pressure on the enemy team. Pocket tries to chase, but yeah, there's just nothing he can do. We have so much sustain now as well, so it's hard. I mean, the main counters for Wraith are gonna be, it's gonna be Metal Skin, but remember, when you pop your 3, you also do spirit damage, so they can't really do anything. Debuff remover for her ult, and then also slowing hex for her 2. Because if you put slowing hex on Wraith, she can't press her 2, and she's just a sitting duck, and you can deal with her quite easily. So it is worth it. I mean, at some points in your game, look at the damage. At some points in your game, just pressing tab and looking what the enemy team is building. I mean, let's see if they're building anything for us. I mean, Haze has slowing hex, Paradox slowing hex, Warden has a decay. That's interesting. I think Haze might be dying here. And on characters like this, remember to slide a lot. I mean, we have Burst Fire, which gives you 50% extra sliding distance. And then we also have Fleet Footwork, which gives you 20% or 25% extra sliding distance. So we do have very long slides on Wraith right now. So definitely make sure to utilize that in fight. Even though we do have a really big mag, try to preserve your ammo. The more bullets you have, the better. The more shots we can get out, the better. I mean, that's the whole character design.
There's nowhere to hide.
And yeah, it's 25% the sliding distance on Fleet Footwork. I think he's gonna be saving up for that lucky shot. And then when you have lucky shot around that 20k net worth, you are really, really strong. You don't necessarily need to be ahead of the enemy team. If you're even with everybody onto the enemy team, you are very strong. I mean, that is your biggest power spike. Once you have all of these items, you get lucky shot around 21k, and then you're just vibing. And then it's really up to you what you want to do. If you feel like you have more value from taking fights with your team, then you can do that. But I would just really, really look at objectives. Just try to split push as much as you can, get waves done, and just get those objectives down on the Wraith. Prioritize that over everything else. Save your teleport ability to TP up onto high ground, and it's going to be really hard for the enemy team to chase you whenever you're splitting. He can afford his lucky shot now, so he's going to buy it here, I believe. Sells the hollow point ward for the lucky shot, keeps the rapid rounds because of the movement speed and the fire rate. Really like rapid rounds. I build it pretty frequently on Infernus as well. That extra movement speed just does so much early game. Combine that with the fire rate, there's so much value to be had here. Yeah, now we're just building our cards so fast and we have so much damage. And as you can see, I mean, the net worth difference between our teams is not that big. At this point, it's really anybody's game. And when you are this strong, again, just look to split push on Wraith. Try to push that objective damage. I'm curious how much Zergy has at the end of the game. I wouldn't be surprised if he has a lot. We do have a really good split push command. We can take objectives really fast. We can get the mid boss really fast. So if there's a one fight, I mean, look at how fast we take that walker. There's just so much damage. Ulting the Haze there so she can't shoot. And then we teleport out. Our Calvin is here. He does have dome. But we're probably gonna be dying here to the Warden. It's so hard to deal with, and in this game I would maybe consider building some anti-heal. I'm not sure. It's something that you have to do situationally, right? But in this game it might be worth to maybe do a heal bane. In this game, either toxic bullets or heal bane are probably worth it, I would say. You stack toxic bullets really fast on Wraith, and also you apply heal bane with your bullets when you pop your 3 because you do spirit damage. Another thing to think about is the defensive tools, right? I mean, if you look at the enemy team, there's a Dynamo, there's a Lash. Those can be quite scary, so an unstoppable might not be the worst idea later on, depending on how long the game drags out. But looks to me like Zerg is just going for that damage, goes for the heroic aura there, and that is just such a crazy good item. Really good for fights, but also really good for split pushing. Look at that damage right there, just pops everything on him. The heroic aura gives you passive 18% bullet lifesteal, and you also get movement speed. When you pop heroic aura, you gain fire rate in an aura around you, and you also gain movement speed. And also, the passive heroic aura is that if minions are around you, they gain more fire rate, so it's really good for split pushing too. Yeah, we just have so much sustain now. We have a lot of bullet lifesteal. We have spirit lifesteal when we pop our 3. Our movement speed is through the roof. And we can basically just kite anybody in the game right now. There's the Dynamo. Let's see, can we do some damage to him? We're quite low HP from the pocket ult. Needs to go back. A debuff remover is also quite good value. Curious if Zerg is gonna build any defensives or if he just values a lot of damage on Wraith. You know, some characters you can skip defensives, you can get quite greedy with it, but let's see what he does in this game. Currently sitting on 4k gold. I mean, he could be saving for an unstoppable as well. That would give him really good value because you could dodge the Lash ult and the Dynamo ult. Those are the main 2 things that can shut us down right now. And if you pay attention to this VOD here, like, there's no urgency in joining fights. I mean, Zerg is just, he's doing waves, he's doing objectives, and then during downtime, he's either jungling or he's looking for an opportunity to join his team. But he's never really forcing anything, and that's something that I want you to try in your games. I mean, just really focus on waves and objectives. Like, really focus on that. And I promise you it's going to make a massive difference in your games. I mean, if he can pull it off in high elo, then trust me, it does work in lower elos as well. It's something that I preach. I talk about it a lot. There's 2 things that I talk about a lot. It's waves, objectives, and fleet footwork. Because it's, again, it's my favorite item in the game. It gets long range there. I mean, it does scale really well with everything that we have. And you just get so much weapon damage. I think maybe it would have been worth to go for something a bit more defensive. Goes for escalating resilience there. That's not a bad item at all. It gets you a lot of fire rate, weapon damage. And you can also stack up to 40% bullet resistance on the item. So I think he's just valuing getting very, very tanky. Also bought bullet lifesteal there. So we do have a lot of lifesteal in general, bullet and spirit lifesteal with our items, but also with our 3 maxed out. And then he's just going a bit more tanky here. So we have 2 barriers that give us a lot of shields, and then escalating resilience is going to stack up a lot of bullet resist for us. And you stack it so fast, to be honest, because we have so much fire rate, right? Just look at that damage. Like, they cannot do anything. Like, they cannot win a 1v1 against Zergy right now. Yeah, he is very, very tanky, so I think he values that a little bit more over defensive items in general. Just sustaining, because Wraith is really good at playing in range. You just have to respect the space of your opponents. You're not necessarily in the middle of the fight. You can hover the enemy team and just shoot them, throw your cards. You don't need to be in their face. So just be mindful of the ranges. I think he's playing really well around the Dynamo and Lash right now. He hasn't really given them any opportunities to ult him. So I would say that is why he's not really building defensive items. Just again, respecting the space. And yeah, you take objectives really fast. Also, the mid boss goes down very, very fast with so many bullets in our mag. Looks to me like they're trying to fake it. They're trying to take a fight. I mean, both Lash and Dynamo have their ults on the enemy team, so I would be a bit afraid. Shoots down the Dynamo from the zipline. I think Dynamo is just gonna get bursted here. Like, there's no way he survives that. Teleports up. Trying to save Calvin from Paradox. And now we're just chasing. Paradox survives that. And our McGinnis goes in and dies to the Hazer. So low HP, but I think we can just finish the mid boss here. And remember to utilize the stairs here. It's really nice, so you have more bullets whenever you shoot the mid boss. I think he's trying to scout if anybody's trying to steal. Going for the kill on Paradox. I mean, it's really good. With this, they have a number advantage, and they can just look to push the enemy base. Once all walkers are down, the mid boss is essentially your tool to take down the base guardians. So always try to find an opportunity to push the game forward. The most common scenario where people drag out on the game is when all walkers are down. A lot of people, they just farm, they go for jungle camps, and they don't really look for an opportunity to push the game forward. So take the mid boss, go for the mid boss, or try to find a pick on the enemy team, and then just get the mid boss, push the base guardians, and try to see how far you can push the game. At least get a shrine so you get that flex slot unlocked, but just try to make a call that pushes the game forward. It can be faking the urn as well, or taking a fight at the urn. There's a lot of different things that you can do. But yeah, really try to end your games fast. I mean, I talked about it in my previous videos, but you want to try to end your games between 20 to 30 minutes. In higher elo, this can get a little bit harder because the decision making on both teams is quite good. And sometimes games will just drag out because they're just out of your control. But in general, aim for 20 to 30 minutes. Then we get comboed by a Dynamo there. He just jumps into us. He does have Warp Stone and improved reach, so can be quite hard to react to. But we do have the rejuve here. It was worth the shot to see what we could do in the enemy base. The enemy team is just wasting ults. I mean, Dynamo ult is on quite a long cooldown. He doesn't have his refresher yet either. And looks to me like our team is sort of turning the fight. I mean, that's another thing when you have your Rejuvenator. Nice bird, by the way. When you have your Rejuvenator, you can go in and take a fight. And if you get a couple of kills, but your team dies, you still spawn faster than the enemy team. At this point in the game, respawn timers are longer. So any kill you get is just worth it, even if you die. And then you can just speed boost back into the enemy side. I mean, the base guardians are down as well, so the zipline is faster. And then you can just go into the enemy base and just try to finish up the game here. So you see 4 of them are dead. And on Wraith, you can just do so much. I mean, we'll see how fast we can down the patron here. Maybe he's trying to maximize his damage. Let's see. No, we're bursting down the patron, and I do believe that's going to be game. Just a really clean Wraith replay, and I'm curious how much objective damage Zergy had in this game. And here's the post-game screen for this one. As you can see, top damage, top objective damage, a lot of objective damage. Hopefully you enjoyed. Let me know what you thought of the video in the comments down below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, take care. Bye-bye.